Hello to all my friends out there. And I was watching a live chat by Food for the Soul, one of the ladies that I subscribe to, and she has a chat going on about Veterans Day. And it was so heartwarming. I think it's still going on. You guys should subscribe to her, Food for the Soul. So happy Veterans Day to all of the veterans. A federal holiday honoring veterans that were honorably discharged. So I decided to do a little Veterans Day, happy Veterans Day. You know, the veterans are serving and the wives are home holding the fort down, and it is not easy. Those military wives are tough too, and they raise the strong kids too. And that's why, remember General Schwarzkopf? It's the people. That's what makes America strong. Okay, now, my dad has been dead 20 years, but you know, there's never a day we don't think about my dad. Okay, my dad was in the Korean War, and that is my son. Notice what a cute baby he was. He was the cutest darn baby I have ever met, I have to say. My dad was in the Korean War, and he wrote speeches. By that time, he had a pretty good little college education. The family wasn't wealthy, but they managed to educate the kids, and my dad was able to go to UCLA on his GI Bill, and then he transferred to San Diego State. And my son and I would drive by and go, Mikey, that's where Dad graduated. You're going there someday. And I'm thinking, like, how? You know, I was kind of like a poor lowly type person. But that college education and that military service played out in our lives, our entire lives. And we had a good life because of it. So, you know, the families sacrifice, but then they come back and they have the good life. We had a good life for many, many years. My dad took very good care of the family, extremely, down to the grandchildren. So that was the first veteran. That was no picnic either. Okay, there's my dad. And years later, my dad became a very successful salesman. But he worked 16 years teaching school and selling Universal Technical Institute courses. So there's my adorable child and my dad. One of the reasons I think I was so unsuccessful at marriage is because nobody could measure up to my dad. They really couldn't. I don't care who they were. Okay, veteran number one, honorably discharged, of course. Veteran number two. That is my son, and that is my ex-husband. The two of us would fight violently. We were the worst couple I have ever met. Finally, I said, we have to divorce, Mike, because I'm going to kill you. That is how we would, if you would name it, we would fight over it. But he was a really good dad to my son. And, you know, one of the proudest moments in both of these two's lives was when we buried him. My ex-husband died a very grisly death. Agent Orange and bone cancer. Wasn't good. But this guy paid for the funeral in cash. And then Greenwood gave him a really nice military funeral. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I wanted to cry. It was beautiful. And my dad had a very nice military funeral. You know, they played taps, you know, as, you know, just like my ex-husband. So he was in the Vietnam War. That was a treacherous war. A few of the people in the neighborhood, Barney across the street, died of Agent Orange as well. But, you know, one thing about my ex-husband, by the time we got through this life, we were all tough. So, you know, that is, you know, our veterans. We suffer a lot, the family suffer a lot, but then we're strong. So there's my ex-husband and my son when he was a little kid. Now, let me show you something. Here is me, in case you're thinking, wait, what? Nurse nothing. Are you kidding me? I spent more years pursuing a nursing career than anybody I have ever met. And you may think, well, what a waste of time. I mean, I thought it myself many times. But when my husband was dying, and another time as well, it really came in handy and saved our bacon. I sat by my ex-husband's bedside. I took the night shift since I'm an insomniac anyway. And what I did is I prayed the rosary all night long. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, that was the most hellacious experience I have ever met. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad it didn't work out. But here's me, you know, just in case you think I'm blowing smoke. Okay, now I will show you. At the same time I was doing that, here was me. I was in the shops. Notice Larry. Larry was always handsome. That was my next door neighbor. Wait, you got to build a clientele, you guys. And what I did when I was young is I would get myself jobs in the nicest shops in town. And I would work hard too. And I went and I said to my husband, this was when I was married to my husband, I said, Mike, I have a money-making proposition, and see this shirt? I was selling clothes at that time, and years later, here we are back again. And so what I did is I bought a whole bunch of clothes, and I didn't sell any. So there is a picture of me in the beauty shop, in case you think I'm blowing smoke. Now, here is my son, and here is my ex-husband's van. He was like a hippie. So was I, to tell you the truth. I mean, we were down to earth. And, you know, my son, you know, used to go over there, and I used to get so mad. You know those people that murder the spouse because they don't want to share custody? I can understand that. So here is my ex-husband. The kids were having fun, but I hated it because my son would get really, really dirty. God, I get mad. Okay, now here is one of our cars. And I used to call this car the Jewel. And there is my son, and I made him get in this train wreck of a car and drive it in the El Cajon car show. And he was so mad at me. He was so busy going to college. I go, you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to drive the Jewel in the car show. And I mean, there is cars there worth tons of money and, you know, but I will say this is the only Thunderbird, and this is the only burnt orange Thunderbird that was there. And all the men, you know, the old wealthy men were laughing at my car, and I was running around in the car show taking pictures, and I had to laugh too because this was my father-in-law's pride and joy. You can see it was suffering some decay by this time. And this guy came up and he goes, ma'am, I really enjoyed seeing your car. Look how handsome my son was, even though he was so pissed off. I really enjoyed seeing your car. And this is one of my proud moments. And, you know, here's my father-in-law's car. One of the things we would fight violently over when I was married to my ex-husband is this issue of cars. But it couldn't have been any other way. So, okay, I told you the story. My ex-husband and I used to love to gamble. This guy right here. I swear he is haunting me today. And here is my son. And he used to love to gamble. I mean, he loved to gamble. So this week, my son was at the horse races, and one of his horses got nosed out. If you want to see the picture, go to my Instagram, and you will see the horse. He had the red. So when he was at the horse races, he got free dinner at Sequan. So they went up to Sequan, to secure their dinners. And so my ex-husband would always say, load it up. Now, you know me, I gamble cheap. Okay, when we were having my son, I made a deal with my ex-husband because I thought I was having a girl, and I did not. Well, I can say this now because my mother-in-law is deceased, and we buried him right next to his parents. That was, it was unbelievable, really. So now, I didn't want to name my daughter Elvina. They were from the South. They had Rose Alice. They had Sammy Joe. I mean, those are not bad names, but to be honest, I wanted to name the baby after my mother, Elizabeth. So I made this deal, and I said, okay, if we have a daughter, I will name the baby. But if we have a son, because I was 100% sure I was having a daughter, we will name the baby whatever you want. So my son was born, and it was like a bad moment. I said, oh no, what? I said, oh Mike, what are we naming the baby? Instead of just going, I had this damn baby, it almost killed me. I had to stay true to my promise, right? So he named my son Michael after himself, and Brett for the second name because of Brett and Bart Maverick. Yes. So that is how my son got his name. He was a good dad, really. One time they lost my son at school, and my ex-husband went to pick him up, and he said, oh no, we're going to find him. If I had picked him up that day, I can't imagine what I would have done. Well, and they found him. They sent the wrong kid to the Boys and Girls Club, and my husband drove over there real quick, and fortunately he was still there. So there's the two Michaels. So now my husband would love to gamble. Now, I did too, but I would not gamble unless, I would just gamble a little. But he would always tell my son, if you gamble, load it up. Here is my cut of the winnings. I said, oh my gosh, your dad is haunting us today. So that is the veterans in our family. And thank you to all the current veterans, all the veterans serving and all the militaries. It's not easy. And so please like, comment, and subscribe, and God bless you all.